Hey, my Cocoa Tribe, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, Cocoa Butter Martin. You can follow me on my different socials on Instagram, TikTok, here on YouTube, Twitter, and on Threads, all at Cocoa Butter Martin.
Amazing!
So I made this cake. It's a golden cake with blackberry filling and chocolate ganache. It is so yummy and so easy to make. It took steps, but I got it done, and it was well worth it than going out to buy a store cake. So with that being said, let's go through the ingredients and the steps for making this cake so you can make it too. So here we go. So I put a dash of cinnamon powder and mixed all of my dry ingredients in the beginning and put it to one side. The sugar was added to the mixer with all the wet ingredients. So in this portion of the video, you see me breaking the eggs. I'm breaking 4 eggs. The ingredients you're going to need is 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking powder. Well, it's supposed to be 3.5, but I ran out. So I used 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 2 teaspoons of baking soda. So you're going to need 1 teaspoon of salt, 1.5 cup of sugar, but I used brown sugar because I did not have any white sugar. Half a cup of vegetable um, shortening. I didn't have that, so I used half a cup of equal parts of vegetable margarine and coconut oil. You need 4 eggs. Well, it says 3, but I use 4. 1 cup of milk, but I use buttermilk, which I made homemade, which is just milk and vinegar. And I use a teaspoon of essence because I ran out of vanilla. So here I am pretty much beating the egg with the wrong attachment, but I still made it work. And that's my brown sugar that I'm putting in to the mix and just making it kind of beat around a bit before I put the rest of the ingredients. And here's a close up. My son was doing the producing for me, and it was his first time. And I don't know, rate his production compared to mine. Do you think his is better? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, next thing I used was some essence. As I said, I did not have any vanilla in the house. I ran out. And I used like a teaspoon because I don't really like the taste of essence to be using more than a teaspoon. And if you do use more than a teaspoon by accident, I'm sorry for you. Or 1/4 of a teaspoon, sorry. I'm very sorry for you because this will make it bitter and have a weird taste, almost tastes like, I don't know, some sweet flowers or something. I can't explain it, but it's not nice when you use too much. Anyways, this is what I was talking about. I didn't have any vegetable shortening, so I used some coconut oil, and I used some vegan or vegetarian margarine as my half a cup of vegetable shortening. At the end of the day, they are vegetable oils, so one is from a coconut and one is from vegetables, so I guess it'll work. And it did. So basically, this is how it all started and why I started to make this cake. My son wanted cake. I went on Uber Eats, and for a cake plus delivery charges and all the service fees, it came up to $20 just for a slice of $3 cake. So I was like, nah, we are not doing that today. We're gonna make a cake for under that amount at home and get a whole cake, okay? So that's just what I did. And that's what you see going on here. So, anyways, just make sure you mix everything real good so there's no lumps, there's no clumps, or any ingredients that will pop up at the end that didn't get mixed out properly when the cake is being baked. So, make sure to mix it in properly. See how I put in my flour after my flour ingredients are mixed? I take a tablespoon and I just pour it little by little so that it doesn't go everywhere and you don't have a big mess. See me mixing the ingredients now because I didn't mix it before. I just put everything together and forgot to mix it. So now is when I start to mix it. Well, better late than never. Anyways, spoon by spoon into there. So as it mixes with the wet ingredients, all the flour doesn't go flying out, or the dry ingredients, I should say, all of it doesn't go flying out of your mixing bowl and create a whole entire mess. So please take something and put it in little by little. Don't try to put in the whole 2 cups because you're gonna end up with a mess and the whole place is gonna look like a powder house. But anyways, this is what I'm doing because like I said, I was not paying $20 on Uber for one slice of $3 cake. It wasn't happening. And only one person can get a bite out of that cake and it's done. So I was like, all right, let me make something. Let me make something that's gonna cost less than the $20 or about the same as the $20 with what I have in the house currently, and that won't last for 2 seconds, that everybody can get a taste off in the house, which ended up lovely. But I suggest you guys to try this recipe. It's really, really good. Um, but yeah, mix everything in good. Once you put in your flour, mix, 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 mix. But this recipe can be found at allrecipes.com under the name Yellow Golden Cake Made from Scratch. Now, this is the buttermilk that I said I made homemade. It's basically a cup of milk, 2% milk, with a tablespoon of vinegar. And that's how I made my buttermilk. The recipe called for milk, but I wanted buttermilk because I just like buttermilk better. Anyways, I just take my time and, like I said, like how I do with the dry ingredients, I take my time with pouring in the buttermilk because if you don't, it's going to be messy everywhere. So while I'm mixing, I put my oven preheated at 350 degrees Fahrenheit and basically got my oven preheated before my mix was done. And I'm there mixing and mixing. Just continue to mix until all the ingredients are mixed well, and then it's going to be your time to pour. So the funny thing was is that me and my son were supposed to make this cake together because he's like, "Oh, let's make something together." Notice how I'm making it by myself. All right. Notice how I'm doing everything by myself. He's just producing, and my camera's on a stand, so he can't say that the production was hard. But yeah, before you finish mixing, just make sure you go around the corners and kind of glide around the bowl. So if there's any ingredients that didn't get mixed, you glide around the bowl, sides and the bottom, and all that good stuff before giving it a final mix, before you do your pour into your pan. So that's basically what I was doing here. But yeah, this was supposed to be a team effort, and I ended up being a singly baker, and it ended up being a singly effort. So it's whatever, but I got it done. I got it done. That's all that matters. But yeah, allrecipes.com is really good for different sources for making cakes, basically. Different cake flavors. They have some really good recipes for cake flavors on there. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm just saying that's what I use. Okay? All right. So by this time, my oven is preheated at 350 and I'm about to pour it in my pan. I could have did two different cake pans, but I've only chose to do one because I just wanted all to be the same size and I didn't know where the other cake pan that was the same size that I'm going to use was. But yeah, like I said before, I'm just giving it one more mix again as I, mix it at the bottom and the sides just to make sure everything is mixed properly because you don't want any flour clumps or butter clumps or any kind of clumps in your cake once your cake is baked because that's real nasty. All right, so this is basically how I set up my cake tin. It's one that removes the bottom. I remove the pieces and make sure to get some parchment paper because that's important. That will help it from sticking. It's way better than using oil or butter. So using parchment paper is key. It glides off of whatever pastry you're doing without any hassles or breaking. So basically, I had 2 pieces of parchment paper here. And so now it's time to put the cake in the oven. And on the first take, my son had recorded the stovetop and not the oven, but we did a second take, so I had to take it out and do it again. So this is me doing it at this point. And now we're getting on to making of the sauce that goes in the middle. So you need 1 cup of water, which is what I have here now. You're gonna pour it into your saucepan, have your Heat on a little bit, medium, medium high, I would say. So you need 4 cups of fresh fruit, which we use frozen blackberries, as you see here, great value. Half a cup of sugar. I didn't have sugar, so regular sugar at least, so I used brown sugar. You need 4 tablespoons of cornstarch and 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, which I had fresh squeezed and then poured some and then squeeze the rest from the squeezer into the pan. But basically, all these ingredients are going in. So when you put all the ingredients in, you stir it up until it's all cooked. I would say about 5 to 8 minutes. Once it comes to a good boil and everything seems simmered down and the fruits have really melted down. And basically, I put it in a pan to chill right after, filling a separate pan with iced water once it was done so that the filling can cool down before it was. So we used a strainer to strain the seeds, which took some work to do, and my battery died, so we didn't get that footage. But it did take some handwork, some real elbow grease to really strain it. Basically, with a basic strainer, you don't have to go crazy with like a cheesecloth or anything like that. And it pretty much is I'm able to get all the seeds out without having it go into the actual new batch of the creamy filling, um, mess free. So here I'm just gonna explain the rest of the parts because my phone died after making the sauce and taking the cake out of the oven. So once the cake was baked and cool, we cut the top layer of the cake off so that that layer would be removed, like just the scraps. And then we made it nice and smooth. So once we sliced the cake across the middle part and turned the one layer into 2 layers, um, and the filling was chilled, we basically put the blackberry filling between the 2 layers of the cake, which was one layer before. And we put it in the fridge to chill so that everything can cool. But the cake was already cooled as well. So during this time, I made the chocolate ganache. And like I said before, because we ran out of sugar, there was no icing, so I didn't do an icing. I did a chocolate ganache. And I put it in the medium saucepan, the same saucepan that I used for the filling, the blackberry filling. I used that saucepan on medium heat. And the ingredients that I used, this is not from any recipe website, I was just DIYing it, was 2 tablespoons of pure cocoa powder, Hershey's brand, 1 tin of condensed milk, any brand of condensed milk is fine, a sprinkle of cinnamon, a tablespoon of caramel creamer. It was like I can't remember the brand, but it's a caramel macchiato creamer. I used 1 tablespoon of that. And basically, I used a whisk. It's good to have a whisk, and I used it to fluff up the texture as it was simmering on the stove. So I did that for about 5, 10 minutes, and I lowered the heat basically when it's getting almost to the time that it was finished. So at this point, I was taking the cake out of the oven, and basically I did all the parts that I was discussing, but this is just, I want to show you guys how it looked when it came out of the oven before I cut it into half, um, and did my thing. But basically, make your chocolate ganache chill and use your whisker to whisk it while it's chilling, just so that you can get it to the temperature you need it to and it not be watery. And then once it's done, just put it all over your cake, and that's what I did. And this is how the cake turned out. It looks so amazing. It was so yummy. I had sprinkled some like chocolate powder on the cake. That's what that brown powdery thing is. I did not have any icing sugar or regular sugar to make icing sugar, so that's what I was working with. And then um, it wasn't 100% chilled at this point, but I just wanted to do this because he was ready to eat it, and I just wanted to get a little quick picture of it. But basically, that's how it's looking. That's the filling, and when I serve it, I served it with like a little bit of whipped cream on the side, which was pretty good. But that's how it was looking, and I wanted to get a close up. My lighting wasn't really good.
Amazing!
It's yummy though. It was so, so yummy. The cake didn't even last 48 hours in my house. That's how fast it went. But that's how the inside was looking. That was all one layer that I cut it into two, like I was explaining before. And I could have did two separate pans, but it's whatever. Couldn't find the other pan, and that's just the way it goes. But yeah, that's how the cake looked. It turned out really yummy. You should try it. And that's basically how the cake was made. I want you to, if you do try this recipe, please let me know in the comments how it turned out, and or if you would try making a cake with this recipe. But yeah, I will put all the ingredients, what you need, and as well as the websites that I had mentioned in the video will be all in the description so you yourself can make this cake too, which whatever flavor you want to make it. But that's how it looks. It's really cute, but the plate was all messed up because it was like his second. But yeah, thanks for watching.